Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generation discussion on the follow-up from Boruto Chapter 80. And since we know that the time skip is starting in the next manga chapter today, I wanted to shift focus a bit towards the dynamic between Sarada and Kawaki, in particular why this Cold War that's going on between the two of them is something that we have to keep our eyes focused on as we move into Boruto Part 2, appropriately titled Boruto the Two Blue Vortex, from this Cold War between the two. And I want to focus in on how things are getting very tricky from Kawaki's perspective, the issues that Kawaki will have pretending to be Naruto's son, and most importantly, the revival of Amato's daughter, Abiki, by implanting the Karma Seal onto her clone Delta so as to transplant her soul into the body of that clone. All those things are major landmines that Kawaki is going to have to navigate carefully moving forward as he engages in this Cold War with Sarada. When we left these characters at the end of Part 1, Sarada was caught in the middle of the battle between Boruto and Kawaki. Kawaki had sealed away Naruto and Hinata, and because of the Shinjutsu that Kawaki activated inside of Ada, the roles of Boruto and Kawaki, they were reversed, with the entire ninja world thinking that Boruto isn't Naruto's son and thinking that he killed Naruto. However, Sarada and Sumire are the ones left behind in the village who know the truth, obviously outside of Kawaki, Ada, and Damon, who are also immune to the Shinjutsu. But this brings up the topic of the Civil War and how the decisions Kawaki makes when confronted with the problems that are left behind are likely going to cause him some trouble moving forward, or at the very least have potential depending on what decisions he makes. Now, just to be clear here, because I still see people who are confused and haven't grasped what the manga has told us, the way that the Shinjutsu works is that the more time that passes by, things that people should be bothered with are suppressed by the Shinjutsu and they stop worrying about them, because with more time that passes, the urge to overlook these problems, it goes away. It just becomes natural to accept what you see. We saw our first sign of this when we saw the older Chunin literally looking at Kawaki and asking him, why don't you have a scar over your face? And when Mitsuki sees Boruto with the scar on his face, he's still attacking him because of the nature of the Shinjutsu. Things that are supposed to be associated with Boruto, they're now associated with Kawaki in their memory and their perception. Sasuke is able to look past it, but only because of the words of his daughter, and Sasuke actively making a point to actually fight back mentally because he knows his memory's been altered, and even then he's still unsure if he's making the right decision, to the point where he can't even call Boruto Naruto's son with absolute certainty, choosing to instead use the disclaimer, if you are truly Naruto's son, if as in still giving himself an out in case Sarada is actually wrong, because despite him sensing Momoshiki inside of Boruto, seeing the scar and seeing his headband, seeing whiskers on Boruto's face and a head of blonde hair and those bright blue eyes, he still isn't 100% sure. That's how cracked of an ability we're dealing with right here. However, with that in mind right now, Kawaki, while he does have a built-in safety net to cover up for him as the time skip progresses between the events of Chapter 80 and Chapter 81, there are things that are going to come up that Kawaki's going to need to get answers for if he's going to keep his suspicion turned away from him. One of the first things he runs into a problem with is his clear disdain for the way that the shinobi handle things. He's going to have to subject himself to going on missions with Sarada, where she's the one calling the shots, or Konohamaru's one calling shots, which is going to be something that we see is going to give him an issue, because whereas Konoha does things based solely off of rank, Kawaki was raised in Kara. The stronger you are, the more authority you have to throw around at others. It doesn't work that way inside of Konoha. He's gonna have a problem with Konohamaru giving him orders on a mission, because he could literally kill Konohamaru faster than the guy lost relevancy in Boruto's story. He was already shown having problems respecting Sarada's authority. That is not going to change. While Boruto has shown at times that he will push back at authority, Boruto for the most part will still fall in line due to how Boruto's been raised to respect shinobi culture, which is something that Kawaki will have to do. But again, the Shinjutsu over time will make people overlook these things, and if anything, it'll just be chalked up to Kawaki as being a rebellious teenager, if anything else. The other problem he runs into is if anyone asks him to make a Rasengan. Now, in the past here on the channel, around the time I made the video predicting that Kawaki would get Ishiki's Dojutsu, I made a separate video going over why I don't think we should be shocked that Naruto Naruto got excited training Kawaki, someone who picks up on combat aspects of shinobi arts very quickly, if Naruto actually trained Kawaki to use the Rasengan. Now, this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, which I don't understand, because passing on your ninjutsu to your student and your children is literally a core aspect of Naruto. Kakashi was Minato's student. Kakashi knows how to make the Rasengan. And Kawaki is literally Naruto's student and his adopted son. So he checks off both of those boxes. So the idea of him passing that on to Kawaki after seeing how easily he learned a change in chakra nature by learning fire release and learned shadow clones, I don't think we should be shocked if Naruto taught him this off screen like he did on how to use a change in chakra nature and how to use shadow clones. However, assuming Kawaki does not know how to use a Rasengan, I think this is where things get really interesting. This is a bit of a double-edged sword because of the Shinjutsu. Everyone's memories, they're altered, and Kawaki's taking advantage of that. But people are gonna believe that Kawaki is the biggest prodigy that Konoha has seen since the days of the fourth Hokage. That's something that Boruto's anime and manga has stressed over and over when it comes to Boruto. After all, we literally had Kakashi directly state that Boruto had inherited Minato's genius and skill. And when you go into the Boruto movie, and I believe the manga kept this line as well, Tenten sees Boruto and immediately thinks like, yeah, this kid is clearly the grandson of the fourth Hokage. When you look at Boruto at age 12, he's already created more versions of the Rasengan than his own dad had at age 16, but less than 17-year-old Naruto, who had well over a dozen versions of the Rasengan due to having the chakra of the 9 Biju. At some point, Kawaki is going to be asked to make a Rasengan, and if Naruto has not taught it to Kawaki, it might not be as simple as pretending to know how to forget how to make it, because making Rasengan something comes natural to Boruto. But this is where Kawaki being a cyborg really comes in handy. Boruto's theme has consistently been a story of both father and son, parents and children, but it's also been a story of answering the question of where does science fit into this world of shinobi? Can the two coexist? And both of Naruto's sons, they represent these two extremes. Boruto's leaning more into the traditional shinobi values. Kawaki, on the other hand, is someone who relies more on his karma, but also on the power of the ninja tools inside of his body. Kawaki's default is to always use his ninja tools, because at the end of the day, he is a cyborg, a human with mechanical enhancements. Konoha just happens to have one version of the several types of ninja tools that exist, in particular the Shinobi Gauntlet. It'd be really ironic if Kawaki hit the gauntlet in order to bust out a Rasengan, because we saw Boruto do that to trick people, or if he was able to have a Ninja Tech gauntlet added to the cybernetics of his own body. That way he could produce a Rasengan and nobody be none the wiser. And that would mean Kawaki has convinced Amado to add that to his Ninja Tech, because Amado needs Kawaki for his daughter. So even when he learns the truth, he's still going to be one of the ones to go along with Kawaki because of that reason. The other option is that he has Ishiki's dojutsu to do what Ishiki did to Kashin Koji's True Essence Flames. He shrank them down and he stored them into his Daikoku dimension simultaneously, and then he pulled them back out when he fought Baryon Naruto in the anime. That's also an option. Doing that to the Rasengans he sees made with the Shinobi Gauntlet, or pimping out Ada and having her tell Konohamaru to make a big Rasengan for her because she wants to see what it looks like and she wants to see Konohamaru's big blue balls in action, and Konohamaru will be willing to whip it out for Ada because he's a simp. So the moment she says make a Rasengan, he'll make several. But unless Kawaki is shrinking them and storing them when Ada has Konohamaru distracted, that becomes a bit of a stretch, and it also calls in question would Ada even help him do something like that, because she's already turned off by Kawaki acting like a coward. It's not impossible of a situation and it can be worked around, but that also leads us to Amado, the final point of the video. Kawaki was already going to have to deal with Amado as it was. Everyone's minds, they've been altered to swap Boruto and Kawaki, meaning Amado thinks that Boruto's the one who can restore his daughter. If he isn't made aware of the truth, at some point he's going to try to make contact with Boruto and help Boruto, because in his mind, his daughter's soul depends on it. He's made it clear, having a clone, that's not enough. He wants his actual daughter, not a copy that doesn't have a personality, which is why he's desperate to have her soul placed inside of Delta's body. Delta is a clone of his daughter. Amado has already shown he's not above double-crossing someone, and leaving information out in order to get the things that he wants, especially when it comes to his daughter. Kawaki at some point is going to have to account for Amado, but that's what brings us to Kawaki's major concern. He already directly asked Amado right before we learned that Kawaki has a goal of killing all Otsutsuki. He asked him if he uses this karma on Delta, will it result in another Otsutsuki being born, since karma is alien tech. Pretty much when you look at how it's used, and even though it's Abiki's data, there's enough about karma that they don't know, which is why he asked Amado, and Amado couldn't give him a guaranteed answer. At some point, that line is going to get paid off, and that's going to be something we have to keep our eyes on. Does this work, or does it fail and result in Delta basically becoming an Otsutsuki? Amado offers way too much value to Kawaki to not let Amado know about the memory swapping via the Shinjutsu, because Amado's the only one who can perform the maintenance that Kawaki's body needs. Because he's a cyborg, and the longer he goes without having the ninja tech and his body updated by Amado, the less effective it becomes. I believe this plotline with Amado's daughter is coming back sooner or later in the story for this reason. I do wonder what you guys think will be Kawaki's biggest issue moving forward. Meanwhile, don't forget to check out this Naruto Explained video.